Every show has that one character that you're just like, he gets under my skin. I hate him. Kristen Cole is doing his damnedest to get to the top of my list. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with all who've already did it. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Second episode of season 2 of House of the Dragon is here. It is called Rhaenyra the Cruel, which later on in the episode, it's the first time that we get to hear that title that sort of be thrown upon Queen Rhaenyra for understandable reasons when we get there. This is another good episode, building up a lot of characters. I think it's good for the show and the series to start doing this because for me, as much as I love this world, like I love being a part of it, the difference between Thrones and this for me right now is that I found characters, even when for those who don't know, the first couple of seasons for me for Game of Thrones, I wasn't really that invested. But they laid enough groundwork so that by the time that it got off to the races, I was hooked in. But that was all based on characters that I cared about, characters that I want to spend my time with, characters that I sort of attached to. I don't quite have a character that I attach to yet. I have some things that I like about a person. Like I like a lot of Allison, but she's not a good person. And so it's hard right now, as much as I love being in this world, I don't have that one person that I'm like, I gravitate to you. I am back. Whatever you do, I'm gonna ride or die for you. Like I'm not with the Starks. I'm not with I don't have that here. I have a person climbing up the ranks, like I said at the top, of people who I don't like. um, but I think right now they're doing enough to sort of spin that way. Before we get into the war, before we get into the battle, because I know that's coming in the back half of the season. Before we get there, they're doing their stuff to sort of get us to know some characters a little bit more. And we'll see if it works. So this up picks up right at the end of the last one, where the news of the headless child is being run through the keep, and there's a lot of blame being thrown around. The blame game is happening. We got Cole was supposed to be on watch. He wasn't there because he was banging out Allison. Um, Aegon feels a type of way, but he wasn't there because he was drunk with his friends on the throne, chilling, shooting shit. He feels a type of way. Allison feels shame because she wasn't around her daughter to protect her daughter, to protect her grandkids, because she was getting her back broken. And so you have all these people who feel some type of way about, like, hey, I'm partly to blame for this. Because, like I said in the last video, someone should have been on watch. Like, you know that Rhaenyra is looking for vengeance. Now, you don't think she's going to take it this far, but she's looking for vengeance. You would think that somebody would be on watch to make sure that this isn't happening. And all of you guys at the same time sort of just let the cracks fall, and someone snuck in through the back door. We see Aemon, though, doing a little research and finds a gold piece under the bed where this whole thing took place, where Jaehaerys was killed. And he immediately puts two and two together, like, Daemon that gave them money, sent them here to kill me. Like they were coming for me. I was here at a whorehouse. We found out later that's where he was, but um, he wasn't there. He's like, and he's a little worried about me and the man that I've become. And we all sort of know, and we can sort of see that Aemon has sort of become a better warrior overall than Daemon. So I think Daemon wants him off the board as much as Rhaenyra does. We do get a bit of a note that Aemon says that he didn't mean to kill Luke. Like that wasn't his plan. It was a mistake. And so he can't get that out to Rhaenyra. He can't tell that to anybody. No one's going to believe him for that, but he didn't mean to do it. And so anything that's sort of done in revenge to that is done with a lot more anger and a lot more hate, and it's a lot more meaning. Like they are trying to cause harm where um, Aemon really didn't mean to do that. A small council is sort of brought together to discuss who was responsible for the killing of Jaehaerys. Doesn't go all that well. Aegon is feeling a type of way and is immediately screaming from the rooftops, "Why are we having this meeting? We know who did this. This is Rhaenyra. Let's just go and murder her in her own place. Let's go there now and kill them all." And the Hand Otto is kind of like, well, slow down. We don't know who did this. It could be somebody here within our kingdom who you haven't been the most favorable to. We don't know who's responsible for this, so we can't just go out. And then they sort of flip that. Otto's like, well, hold on, maybe we can use this. Because Clubfoot comes in and says, we found one of them. They find Blood, the bigger guy out of the two. And they're going to, he wants to interrogate them to see, hey, if there's an accomplice or who sent them or whatnot. Oh man, Aegon's like, I don't care. Kill him now. Kill him. We know it is Rhaenyra. And it's like, nope, let's find out as much information that we possibly can. However, let's just say it was Rhaenyra. Like, that might be the better play here. Let's put this all on Rhaenyra. Because at the very least, if we put this all on Rhaenyra, the world, anybody who's sort of in her favor is going to turn on her. Because it seems very cruel for you to go murder a kid. Like, you're murdering a baby. You're going to seem like the worst person on the planet. So let's use this to our benefit. And Aegon's like, no, let's go now. Let's murder everybody. He's like, no. Take a moment. If we take just a beat, we will get stronger and be able to go into this war with more people on our side. Just breathe for a moment. Let's handle it this way. And he starts talking to Alicent and it's like, look, we need to have a funeral. Let's have a procession. We need to put Jaehaerys' body on display for the world to see so they can all see what was done to him. And then have you guys behind him and sort of use you guys. You guys are the two most gentle people. Don't put the king out there because the king has done some treacherous things and isn't going to be seen in a positive light. Let's put you, Alicent, and let's put Helena there behind him and sort of use your gentleness as sort of the beacon to call to everybody to be like, hey, this is a terrible thing that Rhaenyra has done. She killed a baby, and these two people are suffering for it. This death of Jaehaerys is going to be better than as many blows. Like, he's doing more in death than most people could do in life. So let's go ahead and use that. Alicent's not the most willing to be behind that, but she does sort of get the viewpoint of it. And so she has to go deliver that to Helena. Helena's not really feeling that too. And she's like, well, this is sort of our duty. We have to do this. It is a little bit unfair for her that she has to go out there and parade herself out there, but Aegon doesn't. And that's sort of a moment they have later on when they cross paths. They don't speak to each other. They don't have a conversation with each other. They both have a loss here. And Aegon's in his own grief and kind of doesn't want to talk. He probably partly blames her for it because she was there with them both and let this happen. But she was looking for some solace, and they just passed like two ships in the night. Clubfoot comes and sort of interrogates Blood, and Blood lets him know that, hey, I had a rat catcher help me in this situation. I don't know who it is. I don't know which one it is. I don't know his name, but that was somebody who helped me. He's like, okay, cool, thanks. He's like, you're not going to kill me? He's like, no, I'm not, but I can't speak for him. And then Aegon comes in and bashes his face in. Get some of that anger and that tension that he has held up out. We see the procession. They've sewn Jaehaerys' head back on, so you can see it there with strings kind of sewed back in there together, and they're parading him around the town. There's a lot of people who are crying, bowing, kind of on their knees, just in pure pain and pure sympathy. And it's the first time then that there's a person who throws out. You can see that Alicent and Helena are both feeling it. There's a person who throws out in the crowd, Rhaenyra the Cruel. And it's a brief moment that you sort of get a shot of Alicent like, this is what this is all for. Like, I didn't want to do this, but that one seed, that piece of doubt that is being thrown across the kingdom, that is why we did this. And so it is a little more worthwhile to swallow the pain that they have to go through. We then shoot to Dragonstone, and Rhaenyra is getting news of the procession and everything that's happened and how people are starting to refer to her as Rhaenyra the Cruel. And she's like, well, hold on. I had nothing to do with this. This ain't on me. Like, why the hell would who would kill a child? Like, I would not do that to Helena. She's an innocent. Like, I would not harm her in any way. And her council, there are people within her own council that's like, well, you did say you wanted to kill Aemon, so it's not unbelievable that you may have wanted to go murder her. And she's like, I did not do this, and if you think I did, then you and I we got some conversations to have. And Rhaenys tells him to stand down. It's like, look, we don't believe you did this. But meanwhile, at that same conversation, Daemon is just sitting there kind of like, well, it sucks that the kid's dead, but and that's when Rhaenyra realized, like, Oh, damn. You did this. She pulls him into chambers. They have a conversation, and it gets pretty heated there. They say some things that I don't think they can unsay to each other. But she says, like, your poor decisions caused me to be weakened. Like, you've weakened me, you've wounded me to the world. Like, people are going to look at me differently. I am no longer in favor for a lot of people, and we're losing support. And this is because of you. I said amen. I didn't say anything about a child. What specifically did you say to these people to get them to kill a kid? And we don't actually ever hear. We didn't hear what he said. We didn't hear it in the last episode. And he doesn't really say what he said here. She leaves it to be like, you said, hey, go find him. If you don't find him, just take somebody of the blood. Say that's not what I said. It's never really clear as to what was actually said, but it wasn't. He's not denying that he didn't say, don't come back with something. So the back and forth continues, and they get even deeper with each other, to the point where Rhaenyra just says, I can't trust you. My dad couldn't trust you. I can't trust you. It's like, and I feel like your heart only belongs to you. Everything you do is selfishly for you. And I feel like you are using me as this piece to get whatever last ditch grasp you have on what you believe to be your inheritance. Um, and Damon kind of scoffs at that for a minute. And he's like, well, do you accept me as your queen? Like, am I your queen? Do you accept me as your queen and your ruler? And he throws it back on her. It's like, the only reason you are a queen is because your father wanted to keep me at bay. He knew that I was stronger. He knew I was the better person. He knew he knew this belonged to me. And he just took it away from me to try to keep me at bay. And he's like, my father kept this away from me because he also didn't trust you, just like I don't right now. That's when Damon was like, well, your father, you're a lot like your father and weak, in that you balk when blood is shed. When blood is shed a little bit, you kind of like, oh no, I don't want anything to do with that. And that's how your father is. And you guys share similarities in that. And that's when Rhaenyra was like, I don't mind shedding blood. That was a child. Like, a baby had nothing to do with this. And Damon kind of just reiterates it was a mistake. Like, I did not mean to do that. But his diving in head first, be damned, didn't really matter. And it caused this just ripple effect throughout both the blacks and greens. I'm going to be honest with you, though, he doesn't seem that remorseful. Even though he says it was a mistake, he doesn't seem like he really cares. He's like, oh, well, they all going to have to die anyway, because that's the next heir. That's the next heir. It's eventually, I got to be the king no matter what. So I don't care who I really have to take out to do this. It's at that point, then he gets on his dragon and gets the hell out of Dodge. He's going to go build up an army and do it in his own stead, the way that he wants to do it. And so he has left the keep, but his kids remain there. Baylor and all, they're still there. In fact, he just walks past Baylor and kind of just like ignores her. And so, yeah, Damon is now off to go do his own thing. As Baylor is heading to Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra is basically saying, hey, I need you to be on watch. Because of whatever's happening in this world right now, what people think of me, I need you to go up and be on watch and be as high as you possibly can so that people can't really see you. But I need you to be on watch as much as you can. You can be vigilant, because I feel like people are going to be heading towards Dragonstone. There's a pretty cool shot of Rhaenyra playing with her grandchildren, and you can tell in her, like, the way they shoot it and the way it looks, you can tell that she's thinking if someone was to do retribution and try to kill one of these kids, she would be completely in pain. So this is a brief moment that we're sort of seeing that she is feeling for Alicent and what she is going for, and like, obviously, she did not want to have a hand in this and what is taking place. But that doesn't matter for Alicent. It'll be interesting to see if Aemon tells anybody in the family that, hey, this was Daemon coming after me, not Rhaenyra. She's not going to do that because the world has already sort of gone with this this cycle of, or this thought that Rhaenyra is the person. So now the whole kingdom is sort of be damned of what anybody else says. She's the one. She's the one who's coming after King Aegon. This is where things get dicey for this episode. This is where Sir Christian Cole can go kick rocks. He is feeling a lot of the blame for not being in position. Aegon says it so much as earlier. It's like, where the hell were you? It's amazing how he says that earlier and then ends up being like BFFs with him later. But he's like, where the hell were you? So he's that's sitting with him, and you can see that the stolen looks that Allison and he have, he is feeling. They're both feeling guilty, and they both can't really yell out to the world why they're feeling guilty. People ask where they're at. He's like, "Yeah, I was in my bed. I was sleeping." Yeah, you weren't in your bed. You definitely wasn't sleeping. So he goes up to Eric, who was on the watch guard, King's guard, and Eric is sitting there eating, chilling, and his his cloak is dirty from the procession. He's kind of like, I'm not changing it, sort of in honor of the procession. And Cole is like, nah, go ahead and change that up now, brother. Go ahead and change that up real quick, partner. And it's clear he doesn't really care about that. He's like, yeah, as a Night Guard, we just need to be clean all the time. But he's projecting. He's projecting his guilt that he has onto Eric. And he basically then says, hey, real quick, where were you? He's like, hold on. Why are you coming at me for? I was like, where were you? Eric eventually throws it back to him, like, where were you? Like, you're in the same boat as me. And it's weird. I feel like there are people who have already sort of had whispers that Allison and Cole are doing what it is that they're doing. Helena clearly has seen it. Um, so the whispers are out there, but nobody's really saying it to anybody. But he's like, well, where are you? And that's when Cole goes a little bit dirtier and says, like, well, your brother was a thief and a traitor, so why am I not to believe that you are also a thief and a traitor? And Eric is like, well, hold on. I 100% have set my goals in my life to be with you. Like, I'm with behind the king, and whatever he's my brother's doing, that's what he's my brother's doing. He's like, well, cool. Prove it. I need you to go to Dragonstone solo. You're not gonna have any backup. I need you to go up in there and then kill Rhaenyra in her halls, just like they were trying to do Aemon here. And he's like, wait, you want me to do that alone? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to get in there? They're going to be armed to the teeth. He's like, well, you look like your brother, so use that as your guys. Use your brother. He's like, wait, you want me to pretend to be my brother? Oh, Kristen Cole, you have some sloppy ideas. And like, he does use this, but he's basically doing this to sort of get into good faith. Like, hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm coming up with plans because I wasn't there. So I'm going to get back in good with Aegon and hopefully with Allison to sort of prove my worth to these folks while I'm still banging her back out. Eric has so much loyalty to the king and wants to sort of prove that, hey, I don't even want to be questioned about this. So yeah, I will do whatever it is you're telling me to do, even though he knows this is pretty much leading to his death. And Cole is 100% aware of that too. Chris Cole is doing everything he possibly can to sort of make this right so that people sort of forget that he wasn't where he was supposed to be. King Aegon. King Aegon is kind of going mad a little bit, and he is hanging all the rat catchers within the keep, all of them, every single one of them. And so there are a ton of them that are innocent and have absolutely nothing to do with this. But because Blood said that, hey, I work with the rat catcher, I don't know which one, he's just grabbing all the rat catchers and hanging them up, sprawl along the town folks. And so there's a lot of people seeing their brothers, their fathers, their sons just strung up. And he did get the one. He got the actual cheese. The dog sort of whimpering at the side. So he caught the one person that he was supposed to get, but he murdered tons of others as well. And so some of the good favor that he got with parading and processing his kid along with Allison and Elena is sort of lost because you're doing a similar thing by murdering a bunch of people that are innocent and have nothing to do with this. And so Otto comes in and tells him as much about himself. You know, he does it with Cole right by his side because Cole is coming in and like, guess what I did? But Otto comes in and lays it on pretty thick to the point where I feel like Otto should have seen what came of this coming. But he's basically saying like, your father was a way better king than you are. There was humility and justice and just a good man. Like he knew what he was doing. You're an idiot. Like you're basically an idiot. You're looking out for vengeance. He calls him infantile. He calls him a lot of things. And I don't know how he thought he was going to leave that room still being in the hand. And so Aegon tells him like, hey, you're the hand of my father. You're not going to be my hand anymore. Take that pen off. And he's like, well, Otto's pretty much like, well, who's going to be your hand? Like you need somebody who can guide you, who you can trust. And he's like, well, Cole can be that. And Cole's like, well, hold on. No, hold on. I don't know if I want that. He's like, well, you've done more for me than this old man has done. So he's already sort of gotten into good graces. The part of him not being around when his kid was getting murdered has been forgotten because you did something on the now. You did something to be vengeful to go make a move, and so that means more to me right now. He's so pent up with vengeance immediate that he's not sort of seeing that Cole is kind of the weakest person that you have on your squad. So he takes the pin. Otto runs off, and then Otto goes talk to Allison, and Allison and he are having a convo, saying that, hey, I need to go back to Hightower. I'm gonna go back to Hightower. There's an heir there that I can go speak to, and maybe get a little bit more into their ear, and they'll listen to what I have to say. And Allison's like, go do that. Let me talk to Aegon. Let his blood cool a little bit. I think eventually we can go ahead and get you back before he assigns a new hand. I know probably that's going to get assigned somewhere else before that happens, but that's sort of what she says. She also then says, like, hey, Dad, I've sinned. And Otto's like, cool, I don't want to hear about it. Which for her sucks because it's clear that she wants to get this off her chest. Between her wallowing and like just dipping herself in bathwater and chilling, she wants to tell someone this and she can't. Outside of maybe Otto. And I was like, cool, I don't want to hear it. I also think Otto knows, but he's just not going to say anything about it. And then she goes off and has some angry slap sex with Kristen Cole. Yeah, some angry like, hey, we're not talking. I'm going to slap you a few times because I'm mad at you because we both effed up. We shouldn't have been doing what it is that I want to do with you right now. I'm going to slap the crap out of you. I'm going to push you. You're making me so angry. I'm so mad at you. But I also need this. I need to grieve. I need to feel like this is the release that I need to have. So she's both angry at him and needs him to sort of get out some of the pain that she's sort of having. And before she even does that, she does go see Aegon, and for the first time, he's actually having a breakdown about it. So everybody's sort of having the way that they grieve. Her just having this carnal, violent, and aggressive, and then passive sex with Cole. He's crying. Cole is coming up with these machinations to sort of make himself feel better um, by putting people in harm's way. And that is exactly what happened with Eric and his twin, Arik. By the way, JJ Martin, you're an a-hole for naming those two brothers that. Like, that's very hard to say that there are two different people, Eric and Arik. Eric shows up at Dragonstone and sort of gets witnessed a little bit by the prisoner that Rhaenyra just released that was Daemon's prisoner. And he winds up making his way through. He ends up taking his helmet off, so to the point then it becomes impossible to tell which is which, uh, which is adds a little bit to the intensity and sort of suspense of this sequence. But Eric ends up in the the chambers of Rhaenyra, and pulls his sword, and then Arik comes in, and a battle ensues, and it gets pretty intense. It is Rhaenyra gets swung at a couple of times with the sword. She ends up taking I think a cut on her hand, but she ends up fine. Another Queensguard comes in to sort of protect her, and he's like, "Well, I can't tell which one is which, and no one can at this point. While they're fighting, no one can tell. And so, even if one of them was to live, I feel like you almost have to kill the other because there's no trust here. So I don't really know when this battle started. At that point, is they both have to die because you no longer can trust who the other one is. But it appears that Arik wins the battle. And so he kills his brother, even though his brother says, I love you. They're doing some things like, I love you, brother. I always love you. Like, they still have that for them, but they put their fidelity to the king and the queen. Looks like Arik kills Eric, and then he kills himself. And the reason why I say it's Arik who's killed Eric, I feel like Eric was the one that killed Arik. He would have taken a swing at Rhaenyra before he was then stopped by the Queen's Guard that was there. But he's in pain. One, he's probably like, I don't think you can believe or trust which one of us is which anymore. But he also just killed his brother. And one person, like, that is my brother. That's the one person that I was with. And while I do have fidelity to you, he's gone, and I just did it. I also have to take my own life, and so he does. That's the end of the episode. Uh, it is it's another slow moving episode with like a sort of builds up in the back half. The back half of the episode is where a lot of the Eric arc piece is sort of similar to where the head removal piece, the suspense came in like the last 10 to 15 minutes. Everything else is a lot of character build up, and sort of putting the pieces on the board before we get to the war in the back half of the season. And the biggest piece of this episode was to sort of set up who Rhaenyra the Cruel is, and how she became, and how that name came to be. And I think we're going to start seeing more of how Aegon becomes mad. If for no other reason, whoever he picks as his hand, and I don't think it's going to be Cole, but whoever he picks as his hand is not going to be able to tell him anything. Because I think Otto had the benefit of both being his grandfather and the hand, so he could kind of come at it with a little bit more. Whoever he puts in there is going to be completely in fear of him. And if you get somebody that's conniving to be his hand, then it's going to be two people who you just don't want to have ruling over anything there. Good episode. Moves the ball along, kicks the ball down the field a little bit, but it doesn't really get into any super action yet. For us to have 8 episodes, I would imagine by episode 4, I think we'll have one more episode of this like slow build up, character stuff, another suspenseful moment, and then we got to get to it because this doesn't have the 10 episodes. We're sort of a truncated season, and I don't mind that because it feels like we're getting more meat with each episode. But I think we need to kind of there needs to be one episode of a battle or something that sort of takes place before we get to the back half of the season. Yeah, I still don't truly. While I like watching the show, let me rephrase that. I love watching the show. I still don't truly have that one character that I just love yet. And by this time, maybe a little later. But by this time, there were characters that I sort of was in awe of, or I just wanted to know more about with the Game of Thrones series. This one I don't quite have it. What do you guys think about this second episode of season 2 of House of the Dragon? We'll leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.